On the day of the pizza incident, I walked into a pizzeria with friends. I got my pizza and stood by the counter and was immediately told to get out. I told the employee that I was waiting for my friends and I wouldn't leave until they finished making their order. While we were outside of the store, I was called the N-word. The manager came outside of the pizzeria and hit me with the pizza peel. I was hit multiple times with the pizza peel, including in the face. I was knocked to the ground. I went in and out of consciousness. I definitely was scared. I was hit here, and also my lip. I was bleeding a lot underneath the eye and my mouth. I was not being disruptive whatsoever. I was not being disrespectful. I didn't say anything offensive to the staff. They singled me out. The reality is this wouldn't have happened if I wasn't black.
By the way, we reached out to the manager of the pizzeria who you say was involved in this attack, and he has not returned our calls. Now, you were there with two friends, right?
Yes.
And the friends, one was Caucasian and one was...
White Hispanic.
What happened at that point when you said, why would I go wait out there while they're waiting in here?
The employee continuously told me to get out. He's yelling at me, and I felt confused. I felt belittled at that exact moment. I felt disrespected. I was angry. I'm like, why am I the only person being spoken to like this and being told to get out?
A white privilege I have is, if my day is going badly, or my week, or my whole year is going badly, I don't have to ask, was there a racial angle here? I'm freed of that. And it isn't that I'm guilty, but it makes sense for all of us to wonder what circumstances everybody else came from, rather than project what we think onto them. And that brings more empathy and more compassion into our relationships.
Laura, you made a really good point that I'd like you to elaborate on. You said if you're in a position of power, if you're a manager, if you have employees at a store or retail or whatever, that you really have to police yourself.
I would say I do it in the classroom too. I want to be very fair to everyone, and I know that if I'm sitting at the front of the classroom and I'm calling on students, students are paying attention. Who is she calling about? So, you know, going through great lengths to be meticulously fair and aware of what you're doing is critical.
How do you change this? What are the solutions?
So I think it's interesting that we're talking about privilege and people are like, I don't have privilege, but privilege is a great thing to have, right? And so having privilege, you can use that for good. And so having a posture, I think, of empathy, of humility, listening to other people, and also advocating and being allies. Like, I think we can advocate for one another, but people in the most highest positions of power can then advocate and actually build relationships through the advocacy, right? Because right now, everyone's defensive, right? We saw this today. But that defensiveness can be assuaged by just listening to one another and talking to each other and accepting that what someone's experience is true and reflecting on that, whether, oh, well, that doesn't actually happen to me. And that's when we start to recognize our privilege.